I'm calling to order this hearing, which is actually a public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Friday, March 29th, 2024. The time is 9:48 in the morning, and this hearing is roundtable is being held live in room 412 of the Johnny Wilson Building. The subject of this roundtable is consideration of two nominations by the mayor for confirmation by the council. The first is, well, I know, I'm just looking for it. PR 25-662 entitled the Board of Zoning Adjustment Fred Hill Confirmation Resolution of 2024. The stated purpose of this resolution is to confirm the mayor's nomination for reappointment of Fred Hill to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. The Board of Zoning Adjustment is an independent quasi-judicial body with the ability to grant relief from the strict application of the district zoning regulations in the form of variances, to grant special exceptions where authorized under the zoning regulations, and to hear appeals from actions taken by the zoning administrator of the Department of Buildings. The second resolution for consideration or subject to today's hearing is PR 25-686 entitled the Public Charter School Board James Sandman Confirmation Resolution of 2024. The stated purpose of this resolution, I know this is kind of obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. The stated purpose of this resolution is to confirm the mayor's nomination for reappointment of James Sandman as a member of the Public Charter School Board. The Public Charter School Board is an independent government agency of the District of Columbia, led by a volunteer 7-member board. As the sole public charter school authorizer in our nation's capital, the Public Charter School Board provides oversight to public charter schools, which are managed by independently run nonprofit organizations called local education agencies, or LEAs. I always believe it's important, where possible, for the Committee of the Whole to have hearings or roundtables on nominations, whether they're appointments by the council or nominations by the mayor. It gives the public an opportunity to comment if they want to, and thereby the council to hear if there are any concerns from the public. Plus, we get to ask a few questions of the nominees. The record for this hearing is going to close at 5 p.m. on Monday, April 1st. That's 2 days from now, 3 days from now. We're moving quickly on this because I intend to present these nominations to the council on Tuesday, the 2nd. This is more a concern for the Board of Zoning Adjustment. I'll just note, because I am with the legislative branch and we like to trash the mayor, the executive managed to get Mr. Hill's confirmation resolution to us on February 27th, which is what, 2 weeks ago, even though Mr. Hill's term expired last September. Yes, and he's serving in a holdover capacity, which he will not be able to do after 180 days. I will not count that time, but if we move on April 2nd, then we've got him reappointed. That, of course, is assuming that there's no public objection and that the council's on board, but I think they will be, assuming the hearing today goes well. And Mr. Salmon, as I recall, your appointment is up in, actually, it may be up now, but you can hold over. But yeah, it was expired February 24th, but you can hold over. And we're anxious that service continue, in part because the Public Charter School Board has not been fully appointed for a while, and this continuity is important. So that's why we're moving quickly with the record closing at 5 p.m. on Monday. I believe we have the two nominees as witnesses, and Leah Cruzy. Why don't you come forward? All of you come forward. Even though I'm mixing schools with zoning, we'll see how well I can handle that. Ms. Cruzy, why don't you start first. And good morning. And thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
You're pretty soft, but
It's
Just-
on. Should I'll project better?
just speak loudly.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. I am Leah Cruzy, Chair of the DC Public Charter School Board. I want to thank you for holding this hearing today and allowing me to testify in support of renominating Jim Sandman to the DC Public Charter School Board. Mr. Sandman has been a valuable member of our board since 2019, consistently demonstrating dedication to the students of the District of Columbia. With his extensive background in both law and public education, Mr. Sandman brings a wealth of experience and thoughtful insight to our board deliberations and voting processes. As a district resident for more than 30 years, he has deep roots in the community and has dedicated his career to public service, making him a trusted advocate for educational excellence. Mr. Sandman's continued service on our board is crucial to DC PCSB's mission and its service to the students and families of DC. He not only brings to his service a profound understanding of our agency, but also draws from his rich personal and professional experiences. Jim is one of the most thoughtful individuals I know, constantly keeping in careful consideration the perspective of parents and students who observe our deliberations in action with our authority and our responsibility. Consistency in leadership creates a culture of trust and accountability and helps maintain institutional knowledge among leaders. Jim's keen awareness of the educational landscape is important as we embark on upcoming projects, such as the revision of our accountability system called Aspire. Our board will vote on Aspire and our updated charter goals policy this summer. Given the importance of these changes, we want board members with significant knowledge of our sector and authorizing work. I'm confident that Mr. Sandman will continue to play a pivotal role in advocating for the best interest of our students. In this high-stakes decision-making process, Mr. Sandman provides invaluable insights necessary for navigating complex challenges and ensuring that our initiatives align with the needs of our students and of the broader community. I have full confidence in Jim Sandman's ability to continue pushing the needle forward on our journey toward providing excellent and equitable schools for every child in the district, and I'm grateful for his ongoing commitment and leadership. For these reasons, I ask that you vote to support Mr. Sandman's reconfirmation to the DC PCSB. Thank you again for allowing me to testify before you today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Cruzy. I may have a question for you, but let me hear from the other witnesses, the nominees first. Mr. Salmon, and good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. I'm James Sandman, and I'm grateful for your consideration of my nomination to serve on the Public Charter School Board. I'm also grateful to Mayor Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of the district. I've been serving on the Public Charter School Board since 2019. I was nominated and confirmed in 2019 for the remainder of a term ending in February of 2020. In 2020, I was confirmed for a full 4-year term. I have served as vice chair of the board since 2021. I believe I am a fit candidate for confirmation to a full second term. In addition to almost 5 years of service on the Public Charter School Board, I have prior experience in the education sector as a former general counsel of the District of Columbia Public Schools and as the facilitator for the Cross-Sector Collaboration Task Force from 2015 to 2018. I have broad leadership experience in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors that I believe is helpful to the work of the Public Charter School Board. I've been a resident of the District of Columbia for the past 32 years. I live in Ward 6. I'm a lawyer. I practiced with the international Washington-based firm of Arnold & Porter for 30 years, including 10 years as the firm-wide managing partner. 17 years ago, I decided to take up a new career in public service and public interest work. I left the law firm that had been my professional home for 3 decades to become general counsel of the District of Columbia Public Schools. I served in that position for 3 years and was proud to work for the District of Columbia government. From 2011 to 2020, I was president of the Legal Services Corporation, known as LSC, the United States' largest funder of civil legal aid programs for low-income people. LSC, established by an act of Congress in 1974, supports 131 independent legal aid programs with more than 900 offices serving the entire country. LSC's budget, which comes entirely from an annual congressional appropriation, was $440 million in the last year of my service as president. I am now President Emeritus of LSC, an honorary unpaid position. Since May of 2020, I have been Distinguished Lecturer and Senior Consultant to the Future of the Profession Initiative at the University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School, my alma mater, where I teach legal ethics, among other courses. Since 2023, I have also served as Senior Advisor to and Chair of the National Leadership Council of Frontline Justice, a new nonprofit that advocates for trained community members to be authorized to provide limited legal services to people who cannot afford lawyers. My hobby is being a volunteer. I am currently chair of the Executive Committee and of the Advisory Board of the Institute for the Advancement of the American Legal System. I'm vice chair of the DC Access to Justice Commission by appointment of the Court of Appeals, and a vice chair of the American Bar Association's Task Force on Law and Artificial Intelligence. I am a member of the boards of Whitman Walker Foundation, the Pro Bono Institute, and Albany Law School, among other organizations. I'm a former chair of the boards of the Meyer Foundation, the Whitman Walker Clinic, and the DC Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy. I volunteer at the DC Bar Pro Bono Center's Saturday morning advice and referral clinics in Anacostia and Shaw. I'm a past president of the District of Columbia Bar. I believe I meet the statutory requirements for a member of the Public Charter School Board. In my time on the board, I have become familiar with evaluation of and accountability in successful schools. Because of my experience as managing partner of a significant international law firm, as chief executive officer of a $440 million nonprofit organization, as president of the District of Columbia Bar, and as chair of the board, audit committee chair, or member of the board of a number of nonprofits, I'm familiar with the operation of a financially sound enterprise. From my volunteer experience in the District of Columbia, I'm familiar with the economic, social, and economic development needs of our city. From my experience as general counsel of the DC Public Schools, and from my experience as a member of the Public Charter School Board, I know about the needs of students, parents, teachers, and administrators. I have been a diligent member of the Public Charter School Board since my initial appointment in 2019, preparing for, attending, and actively participating in public meetings and meetings of board committees. I have developed good working relationships with staff and my fellow board members. I've been an active participant in 3 especially significant board activities: the hiring of Michelle Walker Davis as executive director of the board in 2020, a revision of the board's required showing of student demand before a new charter school is approved or an existing one is authorized to expand, and a revision of the board's academic accountability system for measuring the performance of the district's charter schools. If I am confirmed, I will in my next term continue to apply the board's requirements for demonstrating student need rigorously in considering every application to open a new charter school or expand an existing one. And once the collaborative process for revising the board's academic accountability system is complete, I will work to implement the new system in a manner that evaluates the performance of charter schools rigorously and fairly, and promotes the goal of a high-quality education for every student, especially those from communities that have been historically marginalized. I would be honored to be able to continue to give back to the city that I love as a member of the Public Charter School Board. Thank you, Chairman Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I'd be happy to respond to questions from you and members of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Salmon. I'll have some questions for you, although I have one at the moment. So you retired from Arnold and Porter, and now you're busier.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Morning, Chairman Mendelson, and members of the Committee of the Whole. I'm Fred Hill, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Board of Zoning Adjustment. I'm grateful to Mayor Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of our city. I'm honored to be considered to continue to serve on a board that is so vital to the character and development of our city. I've served on the BZA since 2015 and have served as its chair for the past 8 years. I've had the privilege of calling the Washington, D.C. area my home for the past 50 years and have witnessed the dramatic growth that has taken place in our city. I've lived in Cathedral Heights, Shaw, Penn Quarter, and now back in Shaw. I earned my degree in economics from the University of Arizona, studied Mandarin at the University of Beijing, and ran a startup communications company in Beijing, China. I founded a healthcare communications firm in 1998, and through running my own consulting company for over the past 30 years, have honed my skills in management, planning, and implementation. I'm proud to say my company is in DC, located in the downtown bid. Among my activities within the district, I've served on the board of directors of the DC chapter of Entrepreneurs Organization, served on my condo board in ANC 2C, and served on the board of leadership Greater Washington and a member of this federal city council. I was confirmed by the council to serve on the BZA in 2015. Since that time, I've participated in over 1,500 cases for special exceptions, variances, and appeals. As the council knows, we take public testimony from the community, ANCs, and different DC departments, including the Office of Planning and the Department of Transportation, and then use that testimony during our deliberations. Over the past 8 years on the BZA, I've gained meaningful experience working with applicants, the Office of Planning, the Departments of Transportation, citizens presenting in support and opposition, and various ANCs. I'm keenly aware of how important the BZA is to the city and how important each case is to the applicant's community and maintaining the integrity of the zoning regulations. Applicants are entitled to fair and impartial arbiters who will both hear them out and hold them to the standard they must meet in order to grant or deny the relief requested. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the professional and technical support provided to the board from the Office of Zoning, including Sarah Barden, Clifford Moy, Tracy Rose, Kira Maylert, Paul Young, and Rob Reed. From the Office of Zoning Legal Division, Mary Nagelhout, Sarah Baja, Ryan Nicholas, Demetria Cooper, and Carissa Demare. Without their support, the board would not be able to fulfill its responsibilities to the city. I've enjoyed my time on the BZA and believe that I have done a good job at bringing well-balanced, informed, salient points to discussion with my fellow board members. As we deliberate each case, if I'm reappointed, I will continue this work. Thank you, Chairman Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify. I'd also like to apologize to the Mayor's Office of Talent and Appointment. It's my fault that the delay took place. I was unsure as to my availability to continue in this role. And I am very thankful for you, Chairman Mendelson, and the council to consider me on this tight timeline. And I look forward to any kind of questions you might have for me.
So you didn't like my throwing bricks at the executive.
No, I was just clarifying.
Somewhere I had a question in there. Ms. Cruzy, since you're here and you're the chair of the board,
That's correct.
how would you describe the board as a working entity?
Formally, as you stated earlier, we are designed to be a 7-member body of volunteer board members to oversee the DC Public Charter School and the sector of which we authorize 69 LEAs. And are you asking more just to clarify how the board is operating?
How well it's operating?
Oh, well, I'm thrilled that we currently have 6 members. Our newest member, as you may know, we have gratitude to the mayor and to city council for approving Carissa Stanley Beatty. So our newest board member comes from Ward 5, has hit the ground running and has been actively engaging in the onboarding process. I'm grateful for the board that we have. We have a group of devoted volunteers who take the time to review materials, ask difficult questions, engage actively. If you have the opportunity to observe any of our board meetings, you can see each of our board members asking good questions of folks who come before us, of the material, and are thoroughly engaged with the processes that we have before us each meeting and ongoing initiatives like Aspire that I described earlier.
You would say everyone's working well together on the board?
I would say so. I'm really grateful for the tenor and active engagement. And I think that the lived experience and expertise each board member uniquely brings enhances our ability to provide effective oversight and governance of the sector.
And you said there's still one vacancy.
That's right.
So with Mr. Salmon's reappointment, there would still be one vacancy.
That's right.
Mr. Hill, how well would you say the Board of Zoning Adjustments working?
I think the board's been working very well, very efficiently. And I am really proud to be working with the colleagues that I work with week in and week out.
I'm trying to remember, the Board of Zoning Adjustment has an appointee from the National Capital Planning Commission,
Yes,
Uh,
Kurt Smith currently.
a rotating member of the Zoning Commission, and then 3 mayoral appointments.
Yes,
With your reappointment, the board will be full, all 5?
yes. Carl Blake and Lorna John are the other mayoral appointees.
Yes, I think we just did Carl Blake last year.
Yes,
And Lorna John may be up this year.
I
You
think
mean,
she is up in September.
yeah, but the point is that they're working well together.
Yes, it's as you know, Chairman Mendelson, it's a lot of different cases, a lot of work, a lot of studying that has to take place. And, you know, our hearings go on, they've been going 8 to 10 hours sometimes. And so it's a pretty big commitment from my fellow board members. And I appreciate the work that they're doing.
Speaking of which, since you've served, you know how much time is required. Do you have the time to serve?
I do.
And Mr. Salmon, since you have served, you have a sense of how much time is required. Do you have the time to serve?
Yes, I do.
And let me see, there are other standard questions that I ask, conflicts of interest. Mr. Hill, have you had conflicts of interest at any point?
No,
If you were to, do you foresee any? Let me put it,
I don't foresee any. I guess if there were any conflicts, I think at times I've recused myself or others have recused themselves for maybe being something might have been taking place in their ANC or something like that, but nothing in terms of any financial connections or things like that.
but if there was, you would,
I would recuse myself.
Mr. Salmon, have you had any conflicts of interest in serving?
I have not.
Do you foresee any?
I do not.
And if there were one, what would you do?
I would recuse myself.
The question I asked each of you in the pre-hearing questions, are you, let me see, the way my staff writes this is different every time. Are you current in, you know where I'm going, but don't go there yet. Do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district, federal, or other state or local governments, Mr. Hill?
No, I do not.
Mr. Salmon?
I do not.
Mr. Hill, what's the current status of the Call Your Mother case?
I believe that had been dismissed because we, the board, did not believe that the correct relief had been requested. And so I think it was remanded to us from the courts. We took a look at the case and determined that it was not before us properly. And so therefore it was dismissed. And so what I understand the current situation is on that applicant is that they're able to do whatever they can do as a matter of right at that location.
Okay, and a reason why I've asked about this at virtually every hearing for the last, I'm going to exaggerate, 13 years, is because the board was very slow in taking this up after the remand. At the last performance oversight hearing, I discussed with the Office of Zoning Executive Director the backlog and requested that she come to the next hearing, which will be on the budget, with a plan to eliminate the backlog. Do you know the status of that?
I have not talked to Director Barden about the plan. I know that I was at this, the meeting that you're speaking about, and I understand that they'll be coming up with recommendations, I believe. But at this point, I'm not privy to the process.
Okay, but you do get the seriousness of the issue.
Yeah, I think that it is, I know that the staff is working in the most efficient way possible. I know that the attorneys work very hard at getting out the orders as quickly as they can. And that there's, as I understand, there was a bit of a backlog because of different departments that were merging together, I think was what I understood in terms of the Office of Zoning's legal department. But I know that they're working on getting you the information that you requested.
Yeah, I have the concern because these cases take a long time. They're filing the notice opportunity for the public, then the case at the hearing itself. If it's controversial, that can go on for a little bit. And then for applicants to have to wait for months. On the case of Call Your Mother, I think it's several years. That's just antithetical to orderly process or development, or even the government being respectful of residents and businesses and applicants. So I want to see a plan that gets rid of that backlog. It takes long enough without a backlog. And so I don't know that I need to beat that anymore, but please take that back.
I will, thank you.
I can ask this of both Mr. Salmon and Ms. Cruzy, even though, Ms. Cruzy, you're not the subject of this hearing. There are a lot of empty seats in our school system. That's both DCPS and charter schools. What's your thinking about that, and how do we deal with it? Both of you, each of you.
First, I'll offer, I am proud that DC, I acknowledge that statement, and I'll acknowledge that unlike some other big cities, DC has seen a public school enrollment increase in the last few years when our counterparts elsewhere in the country are seeing very concerning decreases such that it puts schools in very difficult positions for planning and otherwise. And you also wonder where are those kids going? We are not in that position in the District of Columbia between DCPS and charters. That said, we do in DC and across the country have concerns around chronic absenteeism. That is an issue that predated the pandemic, but has been exacerbated by the pandemic. And for younger children, that is in part families that are new to experiencing school and the kind of the kind of structure and routines of attending school, and perhaps even a value proposition of what I'm getting out of that experience. And for older children who are now older, who a few years ago their households were significantly impacted by the pandemic. I think there are big questions around how this experience is meeting the needs of my developmental stage. I know that DC school leaders are actively working on this to try to understand how they can communicate to families this importance of maximizing instructional time. I'm a parent of a child in a DCPS school and a parent of a child in a DC charter school, so I get all kinds of contact if it happens to be that my child has missed a school day, and I appreciate that. The importance of maximizing instructional time cannot be underemphasized. So I'm pleased to know that our city leaders and our school leaders are actively working on this, and it has serious implications for student learning outcomes now and over time.
Mr. Salmon?
We do have a significant number of unfilled seats in public schools in the District of Columbia. We do not have a surplus of high-quality seats available. Seats in schools are not fungible. There are high-quality schools and there are schools that are underperforming. I think the best way to fill unfilled seats is to increase the quality of our schools across both sectors, and to bring people back in the way that we're beginning to see in the last couple of years, contrary to national trends.
Well, there are some who would argue that, I'll just put it out there, that too many charter schools, and that's a reason why we have overcapacity, unfilled capacity. Well, what's your response to that?
I don't agree with that. And I would emphasize that in the past couple of years, we have increased the rigor of our evaluation of applicants to open new public charter schools or to expand existing schools. We require a compelling showing of unmet need before a new school is authorized or an existing one expands, and a showing of demand that will satisfy us that a proposed new school or expanded school will be able to fill its seats.
Yes, and you mentioned in your statement about demand, looking at demand with new application. I think that's important what you said. What are your thoughts about the Aspire framework and the rollout of the PMF?
I'm very enthusiastic about it. I think the process that we've gone through has been a very thoughtful one that has provided many opportunities for input from a variety of stakeholders. I think there are aspects of the new system that will be very beneficial. First, we're moving from rating schools on 3 tiers to 5 levels. We'll have more differentiation in the information that's available to schools themselves and to families in choosing schools. We are focusing more on particular student groups, including at-risk students, students with disabilities, to be sure that our public charter schools are serving all students. Every student is entitled to a high-quality education. I think that we're also looking more at growth in student performance improvement one year over the next, so that schools that are making significant progress in advancing the students that they have get credit for that, in addition to looking at basic proficiency scores. I think these are all very positive developments.
I have another question here. Part of the 2023 boundary study, that in that study, the topic of shared planning came up. What's your perspective on that? And that either of you or both of you? And Mr. Hill, you can answer too, but I think that's outside your turf.
Oh. The staff of the Public Charter School Board is in regular communication with the staff of the District of Columbia Public Schools. There's a lot of collaboration and communication between the two, and with the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Education. I think we try to be mindful of the needs and plans of the District of Columbia Public Schools and what we do, and that communication is critical to that effort.
Ms. Cruzy?
I want to build on that by first commending the city leadership that the collaboration that exists, the tone of collaboration, the spirit of collaboration, and in practice between Dr. Walker Davis, Dr. Christina Grant, and Louis Farabee, in my knowledge of this kind of work happening across the country, is commendable, is remarkable, and is effective. This kind of collaboration we have seen in practice through some very difficult last few years, and is clearly devoted to the improvement of learning outcomes for all students in the district. It is, I feel a confidence as a leader here and as a resident and as a parent that these leaders have a shared vision that they are working toward. Building on that, I am appreciative, and I look forward to the opportunity to have shared information that can inform the decision that this body needs to make when we balance it against the increased evidence of demand that we have asked for future applicants.
You know, as I was asking the question, I was thinking there was another issue that maybe is more specific than shared planning. And that has to do with dual enrollment and sort of requiring of all schools or LEAs that they offer similar programs. I actually thought that was a bit of a mistake because a principle, if you will, of the charter sector is that there's a lot of autonomy within the charter sector. And so if a school doesn't, or an LEA doesn't choose to have, for instance, dual enrollment, you know, it might be one thing for us to push on DCPS to do that, but I don't know that we should require the same across the sectors. Just tossing that out for reaction.
I agree with you.
Thank you for that lengthy reaction. Ms. Cruzy?
I agree with you, and I think it's in the spirit of a parent is choosing a their charter school for its unique programmatic offering, or some aspect that that school uniquely offers. A parent has to opt into a charter school. So if that school's unique offering, but in order for a school to provide a unique offering, that school is making decisions on what it does offer and what it does not offer, and it's authorized to do that. I'll be honest, I'm not involved in this level of detail around this specific initiative, but my reaction is shares with yours in for these
Yeah.
reasons.
Give me just a second. I don't have any other questions for either of you or any of you. Ms. Cruzy, thank you for sticking around for some questions, especially since it wasn't your hearing. Thank you to each of you, Mr. Salmon, Mr. Hill, for your service and for your willingness to continue to serve. With that, I'm going to close out this hearing. This has been a hearing on mayor's nominations for reappointment of Fred Hill to the Board of Zoning Adjustment and James Sadman to the Public Charter School Board. The record in this matter will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, April 1st, 2024. Thank you all again. The time is 10:24 a.m. and this hearing or roundtable is adjourned.